always ready to... I can't believe it. Facing off against the night itself. If such is our fate, we must rise to the task.
Rexona Advanced Protection este activat de căldura corpului. Rexona nu te lasă la greu.
In this Elden Ring Night Rain video, I'm going to be giving you guys some beginner tips to help you get going in Night Rain. This video is not only for people who haven't played Night Rain before, it's also for people who have played the network test and have a basic understanding of the game. So some of these first tips are going to be for brand new players and a refresher for some of you who haven't played in a while. And then some of the later tips in this video are going to be kind of helping you as you make your way through the game in order to get the most out of it. So the first tip that I'm going to give you that you'll kind of figure out eventually is that there is a training area in Round Table Hold that allows you to learn the moves of characters, practice with different weapons and skills, and sort of refresh your memory. If you're coming from Elden Ring and you haven't played Elden Ring in a long time, you might recognize some of these things, but other things you won't. And as you make your way through the game, you have limited time to look at what you're picking up. So it's a great way to like learn the character's skills before you go out on the landscape and are not trying to figure it all out on the fly. You can do this in Round Table Hold and spend time there in order to become more proficient with the characters, skills, spells, etc. And something that's really handy is there is now a feature that will allow you to teleport anywhere in Round Table Hold. If you bring up the menu and you pick a location on the menu there, you can go anywhere you want. So if you want to go to the sparring grounds in order to practice, you can just click it and it'll take you there. If you want to go back to expeditions, you can click it and it'll take you there. If you want to go to work on your relics, you can click it and it'll take you there. That way you don't have to remember where everything is in Round Table Hold. Round Table Hold is not very big and eventually you will memorize it, but at the very beginning you can save yourself time by just teleporting. The next thing is matchmaking and how to use the systems. When you first look at the matchmaking screen, it can be a bit overwhelming. But the first thing is you need to decide whether you want cross-region matchmaking on or off. This can affect your ping since it's P2P. So depending on whether you're okay with higher ping or not, you may want to turn this on or off. This is in your options. This isn't in the matchmaking screen. But I highly recommend at launch, if you're playing, probably turning this off unless you're playing with a friend from a different region. Simply because this game...
Yeah, I'm not going. Finally. think that I lost that. And I lost that power up or whatever the fuck that was. Oh no. Is this game winnable? I mean,
is heavily affected by ping and
Electrified. Hunguk tire.
Your average Elden Ring Night Rain run is going to be about 40 minutes, but that doesn't mean it's simple. In fact, it's not. There is a tutorial, but from just going through it, you're not going to know everything. I'm folks, it's Falcon, today on Game Link. 10 things Elden Ring Night Rain doesn't help. Starting off with number 10, there are 4 class upgrades, and you should get them. This is about as basic a tip as I can offer. It's something I've noticed a lot of players have neglected. Whenever you start a new run in Night Rain, you begin with 3 charges of your sacred class, which is fine when you're dealing with easy stuff, but it's not enough when it comes to facing the Night Raid on day 3. There is a way to upgrade them, though. All you have to do is have 2 searches of America dotted on the map, which are not hard to find. They're always marked on the map, and it's not like you're talking about the entire Elden Ring map here. You're talking about the Night Rain map, and as long as you know the icon,
so sure, bro. I was trying to get the high ground. How the fuck do I start again?
That's that. Starting off with number 10, there are 4 flask upgrades, and you should get them. This is about as basic of a tip as I can offer, but it's something I've noticed a lot of players have neglected. Whenever you start a new run in Night Rain, you begin with 3 charges of your Sacred Flask.
Did you happen to skip the tutorial in Elden Ring Night Rain? Or maybe the Fell Omen boss steamrolled you before you even had a chance? Well, you can actually go back and fight him anytime, no need to restart your game. From the start menu, head over to the visual codec.
Can't level up. What the? That wasn't even fucking.
Noul Danone în stil grecesc. Un iaurt, posibilități nelimitate.
In this Elden Ring Night Rain video, we're going to be talking about Recluse. We'll be taking a look at her stats, her skills, what weapons are good for her, how to master playing her, and we'll also include how to complete her Remembrance quest and find a pathway through Limveld to reach the Night Lord at your best. Recluse's gameplay focuses on casting powerful spells to deal high damage from a safe distance, so the challenge of her is mapping out exactly where to go to make sure you get the gear that you need, as the spells are bound to weapons and random as you explore. To make your life easier, I won't repeat tips from our beginner guide, but if you're just starting out and want a better understanding of the game, make sure you check that out to save yourself hours of frustration. Okay, so let's take a look at Recluse's stats first. She has D in HP, A in FP, and C in Stamina. She is tied for the lowest HP in the game with Revenant, so you definitely don't want to get hit by enemies because she can die very, very easily. She does have an extremely large FP pool, though, starting at 80 FP, and she does have okay stamina, even though it's not great. So she's definitely set up for spellcasting or using lots of weapon skills should you find one that's excellent. But the main thing is, because her HP is so low, getting into melee range with a weapon skill is dicey, to say the least. So likely, if you're using Recluse, you're going to be leaning into spellcasting. And taking a look at her scaling stats, she has D in Strength, C in Dexterity, S in Intelligence, S in Faith, and C in Arcane. So she's got S in 2 stats, predominantly spellcasting stats, meaning she can use any sorcery or any incantation effectively in this game. So whether you pick up a seal or a staff, she's going to be able to use it and deal high damage when using it. Additionally, any magic-infused weapons or holy-infused weapons will perform adequately well with her because of the scaling that she has. Again, though, the danger is her low HP pool, so it's not recommended that you prioritize trying to get melee weapons. Instead, you should be focusing on finding staves and seals with better spells. So moving along to her skills, the Recluse skills are some of the most fun and intricate of any class in the game, and it makes this class probably have the highest skill ceiling out of all the Nightfarers. So we'll take a look at her passive ability first. This is called Elemental Defense, and it enables Recluse to regain FP by taking an element from a target. The element can be taken from an ally too, and usually follows the last damage taken. These elemental pulls not only give you back FP, allowing you to manage your FP constantly so you can keep casting spells, but they're also saved to a magic reservoir that you can trigger using your character skill Magic Cocktail. And the first step, the very first step to playing Recluse effectively, is learning to manage your FP so that you can keep casting spells. If you blow through all your FP, then get to a boss and you can't cast any spells, you're not going to be very effective for your team. So learning what spells are good and how FP efficient they are can take time, and when to use your FP regain using Elemental Defense between like how many spell casts and things like that, and how to prioritize, like when should I cast a spell, when should I just save my FP and let my allies finish things off. These are all things that take time to learn, but that is the first thing you must do as Recluse, and it's one of the reasons that she has a higher skill ceiling. So moving on to Magic Cocktail, in order to use this, you need to press the active skill button, which is E on PC or triangle and L2 on PlayStation, and this will absorb the element, as we just mentioned, giving you FP back and banking it in your magic reservoir. And you can see the element that you've saved as it'll be displayed in your UI with its symbol on the bottom left part of the screen or down at the bottom of the screen. And once you've collected 3 of these elements, the 4th activation of this character skill will instead use a mix of these properties to unleash a special effect based on the combination of elements that you have there.
No, not again, bro. This game's fucked up, bro. I swear. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
This and it can be very hard for dodge, parry timings, blocking, etc. if you have 200 to 300 ping. Secondly, you can set options here for a group password or a matchmaking password, and these are a little bit different. The matchmaking password allows you to just set a password, and then you're only playing with those people that are using that same password. So you could set a specific one for your 2 other friends, or maybe you have a community like ours. We're going to be using the password Fextra, F-E-X-T-R-A, all caps. So if you want to play with a Fextra Life community at launch, use that password. Anyone using that password is part of our community. And what's really handy about this feature as well is you can make it so that maybe you only have 1 friend you're playing with, so you can set password to 2 players, and then it can just pick up a 3rd random player to fill out your group. So depending on how many friends you have or how many people you want to play with, if you're having a hard time getting a group, you can switch this around. The group password allows you to see asynchronous features of other people. So again, we're going to be using the Fextra password, all caps, for this, and this will allow you to see like players that have died, their bloodstains, and other asynchronous features of the game. So generally speaking, if you're playing in a community, it'd probably be good to have this on, but then you can set your individual password if you just want to play with your friends, and you can leave that on. Or you can just not have it on and see, potentially random people's bloodstains. But as our community, we're going to be having the Fextra password. So moving a bit forward, as you actually load into the game, the first thing you're going to notice is the map. And you can actually turn on a detailed view of this map. You can toggle back and forth to kind of see where things are on the map. But learning how to read this map is a huge part of Elden Ring Night Rain. And there are various spawn points that you're going to spawn into depending on what boss you're facing and, some randomized elements. But you should be overall familiar with the general layout of the map, as this does not change a whole lot. Certain things will move around, like runes will move, and structures like forts and stuff will move around. But the general layout of the map will more or less be the same, like from its topography and stuff like that. So you should get used to that. And something that's really handy is you can look at the elemental icons on structures, and they will show you like what sort of weaponry that you'll get from those places. For instance, if you go somewhere with a fire icon and you defeat the boss there, you'll likely get at least 1 fire weapon. Or if you go somewhere where there's a bleed icon, you might get a bleed weapon. So if you're a specific type of weapon that you're looking for, you definitely want to head to those places, and that can help you get the weapon that you need. Additionally, use your pins on your map to indicate where you think you should go next. Each character will have their own color pin, so you can see which player is indicating what, and this is really helpful if you're not on voice chat, which can really help if you're playing with other people. Being in voice chat can, but if not, use your pins, and when 2 people put a pin in the same location, it will turn white, and this means you kind of have a consensus. They agree that we should go in that location, and you can have more confidence if you head there, they will also head there. So try and pin things. Even if other players have pinned them, pin them too, so they know that you understand where to go. Another really basic tip, but for new players, is try and stay in a group when possible. Things always go better in a group in this game, and I highly recommend not starting out the game single player. In the multiplayer menu, you can actually go down to the bottom and change it to single player if you want. That's how you play single player. You won't have to wait for a group to do this. But the game, in my opinion, is not super well balanced for single players. There are some good players out there that won't have trouble. But if you're a brand new player to this, I highly recommend playing in a group and staying together. And the next thing is about relics. As you do runs in this game, whether you succeed or fail in your run at tackling a Night Lord, you will gain relics, and you can equip these in Round Table Hole on your characters, and they have different character color slots each, indicating that they can use different types of relics in those slots. And these relics can do all kinds of things. They can give you more stats, which can boost the damage that you do, or maybe give you more FP or more stamina, or they can make it so your starting weapon has like poison or bleed on it, or starts with fire, or that certain abilities for certain characters are stronger. There are a lot of different effects, and really how you get stronger in this game is by going on runs, whether you succeed or fail, getting more relics, and improving your character through this. And these are highly randomized, so you might get really strong ones or really weak ones, or you might get them for characters that you're not playing. But each Night Lord has a Night Lord specific relic that they give you that are really strong too. So you're going to get those as you complete the Night Lords, and that will help you get stronger. Additionally, after you complete the first boss, you'll have an option to change the relic slots of a character that you're using. You can purchase these using some of the in-game currency that you acquire from doing runs in order to be able to use different combinations of relics on each character. So maybe you don't like the relic colors that you have, you can change these, and that allows you some more flexibility in the way you play those characters as well. So make sure you get through that first boss if you don't like your combination of relics on that character, and then you can change this around. So as you get into the game, leveling up is a huge priority. You want to try and get levels as much as you can, and getting from level 1 to level 2 is absolutely huge. Depending on the character that you're playing, you can almost double your health stat when you do this. Some of the classes, depending on what they are, won't be quite double. They might be like a 30% increase or a 40% increase in health, and others are closer to 80%. But this one level from 1 to 2 is absolutely huge. So your first objective when you load into a map should be kill a couple of enemies really quickly, find a site of grace, and get to level 2 before trying to take on anything substantial, because this can improve your survivability drastically. Additionally, you need to make sure to level up as you play through the map, and so anytime you clear an area or clear a boss, use the site of grace to level up, and make sure you run by site of graces as you're making your way through the game, because they will replenish your flasks, they'll heal you and stuff like that. So there's absolutely no reason not to run by one close enough if you see it in your peripheral view. So keep an eye out for site of graces, try and get that first level as soon as you can, and remember to level up as you play. The next thing is that you want to prioritize churches as much as possible in order to get more flasks to heal you, because when you go to the churches, it will increase your flask count, and this is really important to success in boss battles. The more heals you have, the more likely it is that you will survive these fights. So anytime you can go to 2 objectives, if they're the same distance away, if one of them is a church, you should always head to the church. And if the church is just past another objective, you might want to clear that objective first and then hit the church afterward. I don't recommend just skipping that objective if it's an easy one, but you definitely want to prioritize churches in order to upgrade your flask count, because as you go into the end of the second day, into the third day, you probably want to have at least 6 or 7 flasks, or you might have a difficult time with the boss. Another really good tip is that you should probably avoid easy enemies whenever possible, except, as I mentioned earlier at the very beginning of a run, clearing a couple enemies really quickly can wipe them out and get you a level or 2, or in instances when you can use like Guardian's ultimate or Iron Eye's ultimate to just wipe out a bunch of easy enemies quickly. That can be a great source of experience, or maybe some dropped items if you have Iron Eye in your group. You can save yourself a lot of time, allowing you to get to more bosses, more forts, more locations that are going to give you more XP and better rewards by skipping enemies that you see, unless you can kill them quickly. So try not to take on easy enemies unless you need like just a little bit more XP to level up, or you can just wipe them out quickly. Otherwise you spend a lot of time fighting them and you don't get as much reward as you would fighting bosses. The next tip is try to prioritize things that are in the outer area of the map before moving inward if possible. So if you load into the map,
Kinder Bueno creează momentul bueno.
And you have like a ruins that's in a little bit and you have a fort that's out a little bit, it's better to do that fort that's out a little bit first, because as the ring collapses and you get further into the game, you're not going to have the opportunity to go outward. So try and do the things on the outer ring or outer rim of the map first, if you can, if it makes sense, and then go inward. That doesn't mean that you just have to do like a ring around the outward part of the map, but if there's a close objective to you when you spawn in on the outward part, you should definitely try and do those if possible. And sort of piggybacking off this, pay attention to time. As you play more, you'll get better at situational awareness and knowing how much time you have left roughly. And you need to know where you are versus where the ring is going to be. And this will happen as you play more. But if you know that you are closer to the center and when the ring is going to collapse, you probably don't need to move much. But if you know you're all the way on the outer skirts and you're like clearing a ruins and it's going to be last second, you should be prepared to run as soon as you finish. Paying attention to things like this will help you in clearing things successfully and not getting caught in the night rain. The next thing is that Bleed, Poison, and Scarlet Rot are absolutely king in this game, and I highly recommend trying to get some of these weapons as quick as you can. You can use the map to see these icons in order to go to these locations, but it's very, very important in order to get these, because a lot of times during boss fights, you simply don't have a lot of windows to attack, so Poison and Scarlet Rot can keep ticking away at the health of a boss while you stay safe and aren't trying to be super aggressive. And again, bosses have higher resistance in this game than they do in Elden Ring. It's to account for the fact that you're going to be playing in a group most of the time. So when multiple people are trying to apply Poison, or multiple people are trying to apply Bleed or Scarlet Rot, you trigger them much more often. So it's good to have them across your group when you can. The next point is that party composition is important in this game, and using characters that have synergy and using characters that are not all melee, for instance. If you have a whole melee group, it can be very difficult sometimes. It's not like it's impossible to do with an all melee group. But if you're just starting out, what can happen is if you're fighting a boss that has a lot of AoEs, which definitely happens with some of the Night Lords, and you all get AoE'd simultaneously and you all go down, there's nobody left to revive, even if like you haven't gone down the whole time, and it can be a wipe for you there. So having at least one ranged character can help you get reses on characters that are meleeing, and maybe even 2 ranged characters if you're just starting out, depending on what characters you're playing with. But you definitely want to try and have a good balance of characters, and also learning what other characters' skills are can be very valuable. Like if you know that Recluse's ability makes it so that you heal and replenish FP when you attack targets that are marked, then you can take advantage of that when you see it going off. Otherwise, you might not understand what she's doing and not take advantage of it. So make sure you learn those, and make sure you have a good party composition and you're not like all Guardians or something, even though I'm sure people will do it with that setup. The next thing is that talismans drop from scarabs, which you can find usually on the landscape or in forest areas, but also the main keep in the very center of the map. There's a chest there that will always give you one of 3 choices of talisman. So it's really good to get there at some point before the end of your second day. So make that a priority for you at some point. And this can be really, really helpful because there is really no other way to get talismans other than from merchants sometimes, and those aren't reliable. So these are the best reliable ways to get them, and these can make all the difference sometimes. Sometimes they do nothing for you. You know, if you can get like a green turtle talisman or warrior jar shard, something like that, it can be really, really strong. The next tip is that you should definitely learn the resistances of bosses. When you load into a map, or when you're in the matchmaking screen, it shows you what each boss is weak to. These are the Night Lords. So you can kind of figure that out from there. But also each boss that you're facing, whether it's a landscape boss or an end of day boss, they all have resistances and weaknesses. And once you learn these, it can make these fights a lot easier. Because if you're like hitting into something that's resistant to your damage type, it can take forever. So I highly recommend use the wiki for this. We will update this with all of this stuff and all the resistances. I don't think these have changed too much from the base game, but if they have, we'll get them in there, and obviously the new bosses will be there as well. And this can make things go a lot easier for you. And sort of piggybacking off the talisman point, check merchants when you see them.
I guess we are playing. We are playing the Raider. I have to. Heavy sword. Okay. How do I? This is a great sword. Ah, no speed. haven't been level 6. I haven't been level 6. Ah, this is OP. This thing is OP. If I can get level 6 with this character. Look at this guy without knowing. Holy. I do not. Yeah. I want to kill him, but I can have a level up here. Don't have that. give me a 2v1, bro. The first time I was doing great. They are giving me a